All right, if you love hip-hop music, you've probably danced to a song or two produced by Diddy Combs, but a recent string of legal filings has cast a dark shadow on the music mogul. Luckily for us, a legal expert not related to the cases will help us make sense of it. We're speaking with the personal injury law firm of Ashton & Price, recognized as one of Sacramento County's most prominent personal injury law firms. Here to help us sort through the legal woes as numerous as Sean Combs' various stage names is Craig Fontaine Ashton of Ashton & Price. Hello, Craig.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so this has been a top case. We're hearing a lot about it in media and coverage. And I wanted to start off by talking about November's bombshell filing by singer and ex-girlfriend Cassie. This is when we started first hearing about Diddy. It contained a number of disturbing allegations. And without being too explicit, what were the takeaways from that settlement?
Right. So this is Cassie Ventura, who was a former girlfriend slash singer, etc. So there was negotiation about sex abuse, allegations of rape, very serious, and also forcing her to carry a firearm, which creates some federal issues. So they settled that case civilly, which is money damages, not criminal, the day after it was filed. Big mistake. So as a lawyer, you tell them, look, if you're going to settle the case, you don't settle it after it gets into the system, because there's something called pleading immunity in regards to defamation or making allegations that aren't true. So as long as you say you might be able to prove them, or you have a reasonable belief you can prove them, even if you can't prove them, they're protected. Once that gets out there, then all of a sudden the idea is that everybody else goes, well, she made those allegations similar to what I went through when she got paid. Now I want to get paid.
Okay.
So now there's 5 total civil lawsuits.
Right. So to that point, it kicked off a series of lawsuits, and even men have come forward. Can you tell us briefly about what producer and videographer Rodney, also known as Lil Rod Jones, alleges?
Yeah, so Rodney Little Rod Jones has a producing relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. And ultimately, he alleges that he was sexually abused. And there are also allegations of other sexual abuse, which then at that point with those 2 lawsuits implicates sex abuse, sex trafficking, and then crossing state lines. Once you cross state lines in his jet, then it's a federal issue. And then there's allegations that he took some of the people that were in the sex trafficking to the Bahamas, etc. Homeland Security gets involved. So this opened up a whole nother can of worms, because now you've got another civil suit which triggers a criminal investigation federally, Homeland Security, and then New York City public investigation as a result of the crimes there.
And we were seeing a lot in the news. I mean, Combs' residences in Los Angeles and Miami, they were recently raided by Homeland Security. Are there implications of this as a national security issue? And if so, what are they?
Not necessarily national security. What triggers it is because there's other countries involved with the sex trafficking. So then at that point, it becomes under the jurisdiction of Homeland Security. Under the Supremacy Clause, whenever you go across state lines, the state laws are no longer implicated as federal. And then it's the localized state issues that keep it in like a place like New York City. It implicates the 5th Amendment, which is the right against self-incrimination, because they took his phones, and they took his computers, and so he doesn't have an obligation to let them know what the passwords are, but believe me, they can find that. And then the search warrants for his places in Miami and Los Angeles, once they have probable cause, a warrant is issued, so the 4th Amendment isn't violated, so it's not a reasonable search and seizure. But once they get a guy like his phones and his computers and they get into that, who knows what they're going to find.
Okay, and I mean, multiple cases tied to Diddy. Tell us about basketball player and aspiring music producer Brendan Paul's tie-in with him.
So kind of his buddy right-hand man, played basketball at Syracuse, and so he hangs out with kind of Diddy's fixer. So the Michael Cohen for Donald Trump, you saw what happened to Michael Cohen. He ended up in prison, right? So this individual, they had a search warrant, which basically extended to Brendan Paul. They looked through his bag and they found drugs and drug paraphernalia, allegedly. So now he's been charged with drug charges. So it's not going to end well. I think this is a really big problem. Once you get Homeland Security involved in a case like this, the federal government doesn't mess around.
And can you talk about the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, or RICO, R-I-C-O, and how that law comes into play?
Yeah, this is basically a furtherance of a criminal enterprise. So think of Sean Diddy Combs kind of as the BIG guy. So ultimately, he is ahead of everybody, and they have this kind of the same thing as the mafia. They don't talk. So if something goes on, it's basically kept in-house. So the way they got at the mafia was the Don may have called for a hit, but there's no record of it. So there's other people doing it. And so the RICO Act says if you are furthering somebody else's act to do something illegally and you're part of that criminal enterprise, everybody's involved. So that's how the RICO statute might apply. And ironically, Rudy Giuliani was the one that used it in New York to go get after the mafia. He's been charged with it in Atlanta under the same RICO statute.
Oh, wow. Do you think some skeletons are going to come out of the closet? I mean, Diddy, huge music mogul, a lot of parties, knows a lot of people. Do you think other high-case celebrities are going to be associated with this? Will that come out?
It will definitely come out. You remember what happened with Harvey Weinstein. So, all of a sudden, once that door opens, if he has good lawyering, he's going to get these cases settled, non-disclosure clauses. He's got Ciroc, he had Sean John. He's got all these peripheral businesses, Bad Boy Records. All of those are going to be completely toast. If, with these kind of allegations don't fit into popular culture when it comes to marketing, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So if I was his lawyer, I said, look, let's figure out what exposure you got. Let's get some settlements done, non-disclosure agreements. Let's deal with the criminal. You're not saying a word, let me handle it, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may.
All right. Any final takeaways about this, Craig?
Just that, I always admired this guy. He's a great entrepreneur, but, if you're doing this kind of thing, you get what you get. And, I'm sorry, but, rape is never excusable. No way, end of story.
There you go. Craig Ashton with Ashton & Price, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, you can find out more by going to ashtonandprice.com. Your California Life will be right back.